Hello, friends. We're back again. Welcome to Fightful. It is October 12th, 2025, and it's time for your TNA Bound for Glory post show. I am at Joel Pearl, thejoelpearl.com on Blue Sky, and it's a TNA pay-per-view. So, of course, I'm joined by the one and only co-host of the Spotlight over on Fightful Overbooked, Mr. Indi Riffic himself. Steven Jensen joins us. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be back here talking some TNA wrestling. Wish Cresta was joining us as well, but unfortunately she's not here. But, thinking of her, I hope to see her again soon. She jumped in at the end of last show because she was live at the last pay-per-view we covered. So I hope Cresta's doing well. But, of course, it's good to see you, Joel. Happy Jewish New Year, a little bit late, but, it is a new year for those of the Jewish faith out there. And we're going to talk about the show. We're going to get into all this stuff with TNA, but I appreciate everyone who's watching this show right now and everyone in the chat. We'll keep an eye on the chat all night. We want to know what you thought about the show, everyone watching, because obviously some big title changes, some big decisions were made during this show. We have two people holding the Gauntlet trophy. So the Call Your Shot trophy. So, we got a lot to get into on tonight's show. But, Joel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, shout out to the Raiders. We are on StreamYard. That's the platform we use to stream to everyone. So do me a favor, Raiders. Can you tell me where you're coming from so I can shout out the streamer who sent us this way? Because I see y'all seeing it. I see y'all on Twitch over at Fightful Gaming telling us who you're from. I have a feeling I know who it is, but I want to know who it is. Tell us in the chat there. Thank you, by the way, for the raid. This show was all over the place. All right. Make yourself famous. Well, we are famous. It's Fightful. We are the leaders when it comes to news and everything. The Make Yourself Famous podcast. Shout out to y'all. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about this show. We have plenty to talk about. We have plenty of ways that you can help us. Plenty of ways that you can support us. Let's start with that, actually. Leave a thumbs up on the video. Have you done it yet? No? Go do it. Have you done it yet? Yes? Thank you. But also go do it again. Log into your burner account. I know you got one, and drop a thumbs up. While you're at it, you can subscribe to the channel here at Fightful. These are the free 99 options. These are the ones that you might like, and they're easiest to do. Click it, bell, notifications, get all your information. We do a weekly TNA post show. Myself, sometimes Cresta Star. She's been on sabbatical. We wish her well. She was supposed to be here tonight, but she decided not all there yet. We're going to be back soon. So shout out to her. And also shout out to SB3, who had been on for the last little bit. He came in, and sometimes I go solo, sometimes I bring a friend. And tonight I got Steven Jensen, so we're all good. Finally, if y'all want, you can go ahead, donate a super chat any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. We can go over to humperchats.com, a little bit more of the pie and a little bit more of our fun. Over humperchats.com, you can drop same thing. Some money means some comments, and we shout you out as well. Volab sending us off saying, well, that was, it's how you leave them, right? That's pretty much how I feel about this show, Jensen. This show overall had a lot of highs. It had a lot of questionable moments. And we're going to be talking about that and so much more. And our show tonight is brought to you by NordVPN and MyBookie. So you're going to get more about that. But give me your overall feelings as we crown a new TNA champion. We have some weird stuff going on. We don't know where the next pay-per-view is going to be or when or a location. We just have nebulous clip shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts about the show?
Well, I'm interested. I'm looking forward to dissecting this stuff kind of as we go through the show. But I would say, I don't know where we really want to start. But I mean, the main thing that comes to mind, obviously, when we get into all of it is Santana finally becoming the TNA champion. This is something that we've talked about for a very long time, you and I, along with Cresta, over a year, almost since Santana debuted in TNA or re-debuted in TNA. He's been on that path of felt like next up for a while. And they prolonged the Joe Hendry title run. And then, that became kind of overshadowed, not the win itself, but the overall experience kind of became overshadowed by him being in the Royal Rumble, him showing up at WrestleMania, that kind of stuff. And it was cool that the TNA Championship got on WWE television in those spots. But this is a long roundabout way of saying it felt like that was overdue. And then this also felt like it was overdue, like finally getting to Santana. This is a long time coming. I mean, they were in his hometown in front of his home crowd, his friends and family at the last pay-per-view. They totally could have done that then if they wanted to. But that's like, you know, the main thing that I think we'll probably talk about at the start here, because I know you have a lot of thoughts on this as well. But overall, I would say I enjoyed the show. There are some things about the show that were questionable that I don't necessarily like, but overall, I thought this was a pretty good show. Like, I think if you're a fan of TNA wrestling, you probably enjoyed this pay-per-view. And I know, honestly, I enjoyed the show, but I mean, there are going to be things that we're going to critique when we go through this.
We are, and we're also going to talk about why, and I've been saying this for months, a nostalgia play does not make a great place to then crown a new world champion in your main event. We got some hot takes. I got a lot of y'all in the chat talking about how you feel about it. Some people are saying it was good. Some people saying it wasn't so good. Thumbs in the middle, thumbs up. Not too many thumbs down, but we'll see. We had some returns tonight, some surprise guests. I thought that was a lot of fun. It's Bound for Glory. That's the one thing about TNA every year, is that Bound for Glory is going to have some fun runbacks. You're going to see some people coming back. You're going to see some spots that you didn't expect. You're going to see, you know, people return to action. So I thought for that, it was a lot of fun. We got a big update over on Fightful Select, the best 599 in the business, a whole scoops thread. We were updating it all throughout the day. We're talking about contracts being up. We're talking about TV deal news. We're talking about claims from sources about what was going on throughout the day. We got it. You know it. One of my favorite was, quote, Tessa Blanchard's kayfabe suspension was to give her time off for elective procedures, to which Tessa then drops her newest vlog, which was, I got a boob job. But that's just, you know, that was her thing. An elective surgery, she did it. Let's start from the top. Pre-show, Knockouts tag titles on the line. The Inspiration, who are also in a contract period, they defeated the Eleganceseseseses in their rebrand and their rematch, which they announced this past week on Impact. Listen, the Inspiration are very popular. I like the Eleganceseseses because they are a new tag team with young, up-and-coming stars that deserve the world. What do you think of this match? The Inspiration not reclaiming, but retaining their tag titles.
Well, I don't know how much time the match was supposed to originally have. And I feel like this didn't get a lot of time because this was right after the Hall of Fame. They like sandwiched this between the Hall of Fame and the pay-per-view. So I think they did pretty much as well as they could have, like, given the short amount of time that they had. And I'm not blaming anyone in particular. Like, I don't know if the Hall of Fame went overtime. I do want to mention real quick, I'm actually wearing a Angelina Love and Fodder t-shirt and you know, in tribute to Angelina Love going into the Hall of Fame tonight, along with Velvet and of course Mickie James, all female Hall of Fame. So shout out to all of them, all completely deserved, like totally are like backbone talents throughout the history of TNA wrestling, those three. So love to see that. But yeah, as far as like the actual match that kicked this off, the only notes I really have here, I think kind of worth bringing up because it was, once again, a shorter match. Towards the end, the personal concierge gets like kicked on the outside, kind of like takes him out of the equation because he had been kind of annoying throughout the match, of course. McKay hit a nice big boot onto M, who DDT'd Heather. So that was a nice little move there. And then the finish of the match was the Idolizer double team onto M by Elegance. Also worth mentioning that Ash by Elegance came out on the entrance ramp during the entrance for the Elegance brand. Of course, she had to recently vacate her Knockouts title. So it was good to see her out there supporting the Elegance brand, even though she, couldn't actually wrestle tonight.
She did mention recently in a signing, I think it was even last night, that she is, while she's unable to perform in a wrestling capacity, she has at least an offer of some sorts from TNA if she ever wanted to be working backstage. So it appears, at least for now, that Ash is obviously still welcome backstage. It's terrible to see anyone have to leave something that they love very unexpectedly, no less, to step aside like that. However, the fact that she appears to still be able to be a part of a show like this, that's meaningful, and I'm just glad that she's given that opportunity. And if there's an opportunity that she wants to join TNA in a backstage capacity, if that's offered to her and it's something she wants to do, I think that's also a fantastic opportunity for her. So we'll continue to look ahead and see what Ash decides to do with her career. But for now, it was just nice to see her with her brand tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
International Championship, Steve Maclin regains the title, defeats Frankie Kazarian. A 1 month reign, well, not even for Frankie Kazarian. That's fine. My only big concern is, why wasn't Steve Maclin at all a part of the build to their rematch? They didn't have him at the TV tapings. He didn't have him. He just showed up and won. And you know what? Shout out to him. Had the U.S. Marine Corps walk him out to the ring. Had his mom flipping off Frankie Kazarian, and then they flip off the camera together. Shout out to Steve Maclin for that, because you know what? That's the stuff wrestling's all about. I love that stuff. This was a solid match. Once again, FIFA Select, we did report that Deonna Purrazzo was also backstage tonight, as of course Steve Maclin's wife. Both who have, by the way, been on In the Weeds. That's the morning show that myself, Jeremy Lambert, SP3, we host every single morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, over on Fightful Overbooked. We've had Deonna on solo. We've had Steve on solo. We've had them both together. They are very much a great tag team in and out of the ring. Regardless, match was great. They did a hot start. They really went at it. I really like the work that both men do, especially together, in a storytelling capacity and also in an in-ring capacity, is great. I love Maclin going for the chicken wing when Kazarian was trying to get the cutter. So they did the reversals to the reversals to the reversals. And on top of that, Kazarian hits a Pele kick and then an Angel's wings.
Yep.
He's given his little nod back to AJ Styles, who at Crown Jewel yesterday morning did an Angel's Wings and a fade to black, Kazarian's finisher, on John Cena. I thought that was really cute. So much so that AJ Styles found that out and reposted that over on his Twitter account from ours. So good for that. Great match. Big KIA gets the win for Maclin. He regains his international title. What's next, Jensen?
Well, what's next? Do you mean, like, what do I think about the match, or what did we do? What was next on the show?
No, what do you think of the match, and what's next for Maclin as the?
What's next for Maclin? I misunderstood. Yes, so
international title.
Well, first off, I should say Steve Maclin. I don't know why he lost the title to begin with, and then like to win it right back. I have a lot of thoughts about Kazarian, so like I'll probably save that till when we talk about the gauntlet and winning the trophy again. But I like Maclin a lot. I like both guys a lot as far as like in the ring. I have a lot of respect for both guys, obviously. I just, Kazarian unsuccessfully cashed in, didn't win the world championship, won this for, like you said, like a month or so. Maclin wins it right back. You hit pretty much all the beats as far as like the match itself. Nice. One of the sequences that you brought up, it was a nice kind of sequence where Maclin's going for the caught in the crosshairs, but Kazarian did kind of like a sit up in the corner, and that's what allowed the opening for Maclin to go for that crossface chicken wing, and then that was like a victory roll after Kaz tried using the ropes. So that was like a really good sequence there, and then a nice caught in the crosshairs and KIA, like you mentioned, for the finish. So it was a really solid match between the two, and I was happy to see Maclin win the championship back. And as far as what's next for the championship, I don't know. I'm curious as to who you think may be next, because there's a lot of options in TNA. It's kind of one of those championships that like anybody could really kind of go after. I don't know if is there anything built in that I'm missing that you think would be next for Maclin?
Judas Macias.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he cost him originally. I forgot because he wasn't on this show. He popped up. Didn't he pop up somewhere else recently? I know he's been
showed up in Canada. that's where he showed up.
Okay,
but he's still with AAA, so like he's still.
Right.
So we could easily see those two go at it again. Now here's what I would do. Here's my putting it out there. You have an international championship. Well, why not start either defending it internationally or putting it on the line in other well-known WWE partnered companies. Oh, I don't know. Maybe the one that Almacias works for. Maybe there's a show in November that's coming up that they haven't announced yet. Maybe it's like a Worlds Collide type of thing because they're running a big show in San Diego, California, a big Lucha World place, at a big ballpark, Survivor Series. Maybe you have Maclin and Almacias there. Maybe that's what you do for the international TNA title. And you know what? I don't think anyone would have a problem with that because it's just a special match that has a title on the line from another company between a TNA wrestler and a AAA wrestler, and it would make sense. I don't know if they do it, but I think they should.
I like that a lot, and it does make the most sense. That is a built-in feud, ready. That match makes perfect sense. Especially at that venue, if they do that at a Worlds Collide on a WWE branded show, technically have a lot of eyes on it, get a lot of eyes on Maclin and that championship and Almacias. It's a win-win-win. I think you're right. I think that's exactly what they should do.
We'll see where they go. It would be a really fun match to watch and a really fun show to cover. So we'll see what they do. But for now, the international title is back on Steve Maclin's waist. And again, I like I said, I didn't have problems with Kazarian winning the title. I thought that it was a good way to kind of heat up the story a little bit. I think it fell off the cliff for a little time those 2 weeks into Bound for Glory. And I saw someone in the chat saying, oh, you had to do media. Well, here's the thing about that. You still have a show to produce, and you can still get reaction filmed from other locations that get you on the show. Instead of doing nothing, you could have done literally anything other than a digital exclusive where Santino, I'm always going to mix up the two names, where Santino walks up to Kazarian and says, oh, Steve Maclin, he's going to have his rematch. And it's like, that's it. We're just doing the match to do the match. The match was great. Honestly, may have been the match of the night from a work rate standpoint, but that's where we're at.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. And good, once again, good to see Mac. I mean, I want to see Maclin defend that championship everywhere. He's obviously a fantastic worker. So bring that title all over the place. I'm here for it.
Tessa Blanchard defeats Gia Miller. Gia has a new theme by Chasing Shadows. They were in attendance tonight, apparently, at the show. As expected, Victoria Crawford gets involved. Jody Threat gets involved. The referee tries to throw them out, but they're like, no, even though he's the referee and he has final discretion. But regardless, Tessa pulls out a roll of quarters from the turnbuckle and hits Gia Miller with them when the referee's back is to them. Woof. Tessa had lost 2 pay-per-view matches before. I was expecting Gia to win. I don't know what more there is to do with Tessa, but I guess they're going to keep trying to do stuff with her. This was a match that happened. The bully continued to win. I don't know what else you can do. Gia Miller's going to say something like, oh, you're still a bully. You were afraid you couldn't beat me, so you cheated. And then Tessa's going to be like, yeah, I cheated. By the way, now I get a Knockouts World title shot. And we're just back to where we didn't want to be going into, what was it, Genesis last year. So here we are. Your thoughts on this Gia Miller Tessa Blanchard match?
Yeah, some notes I've got here. You covered a good portion here, but I would say, Gia's family was front row. At one point, Tessa pulls her in front of her family, get even more heat. Obviously, Tessa's got a lot of heat to begin with. And then we had Victoria Crawford getting ejected, and Jody Threat with a nice flip off the top rope that took out Tessa, Crawford, and a bunch of security guards. And then Crawford Jody fought Crawford to the back, so that got kind of both of them out of the equation. And then, as you mentioned, towards the end of the match, Tessa removes the turnbuckle pad, and she's grinding Gia's the back of Gia's head against the exposed buckle that looked pretty brutal. And then Gia picks her up on her shoulders like she was going to hit a power bomb. And as you mentioned, Tessa had grabbed a roll full of quarters, and she. The one thing I missed is, did Tessa kick the ref? How did the ref not see that? That's the one thing I think I looked down. I was writing my notes, and I think I just missed. I don't know how the ref missed the quarters, because the ref sees the quarters after the match, but I'm not sure how. I'm not trying to be facetious. I legitimately missed if did something happen to where the ref was looking the other way when she hit her, or
he was fixing the turnbuckle.
Oh, okay.
That's the turnbuckle, which, by the way, wasn't messed with. She pulled it from the turnbuckle, those quarters.
Right.
But nothing from the turnbuckles were actually, nothing made that turnbuckle go out of sorts.
Right. Yeah, because it was the padding behind the turnbuckle that was exposed, not the actual turnbuckle pad itself. So it doesn't make total sense. Yeah, I had assumed, because I'm like looking down, writing my notes, and I'm listening to commentary at the same time, and I had assumed what I would have done, just for what it's worth, is I would have had Tessa, like, quote unquote, accidentally, like, kind of kick the referee when she was on her shoulders or something, just so the referee turned for half a second to use the quarters. But yeah, and Gia does wrestle. It's not like this is like the first time she's ever wrestled, which they talk about on commentary as well. So that was kind of cool that they didn't act like, that this is the first time she's ever wrestled before. So like, it was kind of one of those things, like, if if you don't, you're going to be probably pretty surprised, because she's probably going to exceed your expectations if you really only think about her as like an interviewer. So yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on all this. And, Tessa wins. The story was, like you said, her bullying Gia and beating her up during interviews and stuff like that, and telling her she wasn't good enough to be a wrestler, and that's why she became an interviewer. And then Tessa wound up winning at the end of the day.
A lot of these people, a lot of these wrestlers had family tonight sitting ringside for them. Some of them, it was a good idea, in the case of Mike Santana, Steve Maclin, and in some cases, such as Gia Miller and Indi Hartwell, we'll talk about later. Her entire family coming in from Australia just to see that match. I don't know why anyone would want to spend that much money on anything, including a pay-per-view, when honestly, you can save a ton and watch the pay-per-view over on Triller using nordvpn.com/Fightful.
I've often talked about how much of a pay-per-view buyer I am. Take that any way you want it, but I'll tell you how I take it. nordvpn.com/Fightful. Fastest VPN on the planet, global server network, all that good stuff. That's great. But a big reason why I got nordvpn.com/Fightful is all the pay-per-views I buy, all the money we're spending. We're trying to control costs as a company, as a household. You can get those UFC pay-per-views at a fraction of the price you're paying here in America. Plus, you can get all kinds of great content that you wouldn't normally see thanks to those services as well. Shows that are on overseas services, things that you want to watch a little bit early so you get on that UK time and watch them. Being able to change the interfaces of things like the WWE Network. Maybe you don't like Peacock, anything like that. nordvpn.com/Fightful gives you that ability while having the fastest VPN on the planet. Also, you just get so much more out of your internet experience with nordvpn.com/Fightful. Subscribe to Fight and AEW Plus. Watch AEW without commercials. Watch bare knuckle boxing. Watch UFC pay-per-views, boxing pay-per-views at the rates they're getting over in the UK. Change your virtual location with just one click. And hey, if you need any help using it, they got that 24/7 tech support. nordvpn.com/Fightful.
Go ahead, use it. nordvpn.com/Fightful. Let me tell you, you want to watch AEW on Triller? $4.99. That's what I'm paying to watch the dang shows, and that's worth it to me. Netflix, I'm Canadian, so for me, it's already in there. But if you want to do the Netflix gimmick, nordvpn.com/Fightful, and you're paying so much less and getting so much more, and it's beyond the wrestling. You can get so much security, so much privacy, so much stuff that you need. Use the VPN. Use nordvpn.com/Fightful. Folks, getting your super chats, getting your humper chats. Stilo Dig sends one saying, "Sup, fellas? I'm here for the crash out." I don't know. I mean, if it doesn't come tonight, you might have to wait until tomorrow morning when I have a little more gusto in my tank. Happy Thanksgiving to my Canadian friends. We're full of turkey, so I don't know how much more we can. I don't know how much more we can muster. Let's find out.
I wished you a happy Jewish New Year, but forgot to wish you a happy Canadian Thanksgiving. You have a lot going on right now in your world.
That's fine. You're good. You're good. I appreciate everyone for well wishes, regardless of what they are. The Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. I don't want to crash out on this one, but I certainly have a lot of feelings towards it. The participants: Lei Ying Lee, Mara Shade. This is in order of when they came in. Lei Ying Lee, Mara Shade, Ryan Nemeth, Nick Nemeth. I can swear to God I can speak. Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, who apparently is still alive after I've been asking for months where he's been, if he's okay. AJ Francis, Travis Williams, who they're now calling Saint for whatever reason. I get that they're Sinner and Saint as a tag team, but he's always been Travis Williams. BDE, that's Brandon the streamer. Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, and Myron Reed counted as one person because that's Danny Luna, Eric Young, Jake Something, Rosemary, Cody Deaner, Hometown Man, Zach Clayton shows up in TNA with little Guido Mariano. Jody Threat comes out, gets taken out by Frankie Kazarian, and then Kazarian pie faces Santino. Santino Marella, the next guy out, and Mance Warner. Oh no, Matt Cardona, and then Mance Warner with zombies.
Yes,
look good actually.
Yeah.
Mance look real good for this. Two people won. Those two people are Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian. That's a thing that happened. Brother, this sucked.
Bro, so first off, I need to point out, along with Travis Williams now just being called Saint, they didn't allow Sinner in the match, but they allowed all three Rascals in the match as a one entrant.
Which commentary pointed out, by the way. Thank God for Tom Hannafin, who's just like, why can't Sinner and Saint be in the match, but the Rascals can all show up? Who messed up that one?
So that, that's some real shade to Sinner. But I mean, if y'all want this, I know you said you might not like this match too much. I got every elimination right here for you. But if you want it, I got it for you. So we had AJ Francis eliminating who was it first?
Lei Ying Lee and then Mara Sade.
It was Sade, and then and Lee. And then it was the down payment on Swan, and then elimination onto Swan. BD and the Rascals did a quad super kick to eliminate Francis. We had Eric Young reverse Saints pile driver attempt with a low blow on the apron, hits a pile driver on his own to eliminate Travis Williams. By the way, Travis Williams is a fantastic pro wrestler. I think he's really, really damn good. They could be doing more with him, whether it's as a tag team or he gets more singles matches, just for what it's worth. We had Cedric Alexander kick Trey Miguel off the apron to eliminate him. Eric Young throws Cedric over the top rope from behind. We had the Hometown Man Duck Green Mist from Rosemary that was intended for him, but hit the face of Jake Something. Hometown Man throws Rosemary into Jake Something. Then Hometown Man knocks Jake Something off the ring apron to eliminate him. Danny Luna gets an elimination on Rosemary. Hometown Man from behind eliminates Danny Luna. Santino hits a Cobra on Kaz from the outside into the inside of the ring. Nick Nemeth eliminates Santino. We had Matt Cardona hit radio silence and then a clothesline to eliminate Zach Clayton, and then also Little Guido got involved there. The Nemeths with a double elimination on both Wentz and Myron Reed, the remaining Rascals. We had Eric Young with a dick kick elimination onto Hometown Man.
Which, by the way, is the best. If you kick a man in the dick in wrestling in a no disqualification setting, you are the winner of every match in my book.
Yes, and that's a whole other side conversation we can have about, power slap and how that exists, and how I'm like, if we're going to be doing this, why aren't we just doing Rochambeau competitions? Like, I mean, it's basically the same thing. Just kick each other in the nuts. That's way more entertaining than slap each other in the face, is what it is. Also, we had Matt Cardona knocking Eric Young off the apron to eliminate him. Cardona throws Mance Warner over the top rope to eliminate Mance. Nick Nemeth super kicks Ryan off the apron on accident. Went for Cardona. We had Mance and Stephanie DeLander on the outside. They eliminate Matt Cardona. And then the end of the match, as you mentioned, there was a superplex spot where both Nick and Kaz double pin each other with inside cradles. Santino comes out and he announces that both win the match. The crowd hates it. They chant bullshit and they both fight over the trophy.
Brother, they did a ref bump to get to this. They had to do a ref bump to bring in.
I forgot to put that, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And everything else.
It was just, shout out to the other channel, Overbooked, because they absolutely lived up to the hype on there. But my goodness, you cannot do that. You cannot go through this match and end it this way. I get that this will open up some fun little stories that you can tell, but to me, it's lazy. And there was a few lazy moments in this show, booking wise, that we'll talk about. This was one of them. It did not need to be this way. Frankie Kazarian winning for the second year in a row. All right. Nick Nemeth winning. I don't know why, unless they're about to re-up his contract. Which, like, I don't know where else we would go at this point, so maybe they are.
See, I had this completely unique idea that probably nobody else had, where I figured maybe the person who won the gauntlet was going to actually cash in on Team 3D later in the show for the.
Stop it. That was mine. That was mine. I said it's either
I know. That's why I said that. But when Nemeth won, though, I was like, maybe they're going to do that. Because I was like, they really played into the tag team of him and Ryan working together throughout the tag match. So I was like, maybe that's where this is going. But I'm with you 100% too on like Kaz. I wouldn't have had Kaz win last year, and I definitely wouldn't have had him go back to back. And once again, this isn't like a personal vendetta I have against Kaz. It's just when you look at the TNA roster, look at all the fresh things you could do with the talent they have. Like, why are they going back to Kaz? Like, I don't want to see Kaz as the TNA World Champion in 2025 or 2026.
But you might. He might also just cash it in on Maclin again.
Fair. That may happen. See, and then, I mean, we should probably wait to talk more about the trophy because it comes into play at the end of the show also.
And so that's the one thing. So Pile Driver Finisher in the chat saying the holding the trophy and not wanting to let go was the only thing I liked. And that's the thing. It should be the only thing you like, because at least it tells the story, as we discover later on, that the trophy has to be in your possession and by your side to cash in. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the main event. I thought that was fine. But the fact that we're doing this as two guys holding this trophy and neither of them are doing it for anything other than the world title, they're just trying to create something out of nothing for Santana. I wouldn't have done it this way, but that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I would have had one person win. It wouldn't have been either of them.
And someone asking, how does it work? Who cashes in first? That's the thing. Whoever has the trophy, they get to cash it in. They cash in first. So realistically, Nick Nemeth can cash in, success, and win or lose. And then the next person can come in and say, like, hey, trophy's mine. I'm cashing in now. You could do it one after the other. Or it could be one gets it, they cash in successfully. The question then becomes, does the other person get to cash in? Do they still get the trophy? I assume they do. I don't think it's a race to the first cash in. They have not told you what that's about. You just have a co-winner. So is it first to cash in? Is it both get to cash in at any time? This is stuff that they're going to have to figure out. And boy, howdy, they have an entire month of no TV to figure out what that means. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, we'll wait on that.
Oh, believe me, I got a whole lot to say about that. Evil Diva, thank you for joining and becoming a member. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Your patronage, as they say in the business world. Like, I don't know. Knockouts World Title match. Kelani Jordan defeats Indi Hartwell. Can't tell you I'm surprised, but I'm a little surprised. It really did feel like Indi was poised to win this title when Kelani wasn't the champion. I can't tell you this was a great match. I can't tell you this was a good match. I can tell you there were moments of this match that were fun and well executed. But I don't think that Indi Hartwell is the wrestler that people expect her to be the Knockouts World Champion. Doesn't mean she can't get there. I think she's very capable. There were some moments, especially going to the finish. I thought that the finish was really well done. Indi going for the middle rope elbow. Kelani hits the split-legged moonsault and retains. She did the reversal into the Hertz donut, did Indi Hartwell at one point, which looked really good. But there were some moments in this match that just weren't that solid. I hope they get to a point with Indi where she finds herself and she finds that gear and she finds those little things that get her to the top of the Knockouts Mountain. But it wasn't her time. And her whole ass family flew in for this. That should have been the tell. But Kelani Jordan is still a Knockouts World Champion. Your thoughts?
I have no problem with Kelani retaining here, and I don't disagree when it comes to Indi. And it isn't that I dislike Indi. Speaking of Indi, on the Indies, like that's happened with her as well. Since leaving the WWE, there have been matches that I had seen and covered on the Weekender that, like, some like clunky spots and stuff. Like, it just kind of was what it was. But that's no reason to like give up on her. She clearly has a lot of star qualities. She's got experience. She's going to keep getting better. But yeah, I like Kelani Jordan. I think, is similar to Trick Williams in certain ways. Being in this position with the TNA championship, it gives you a good spot if you're kind of what I call in no man's land. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're successful in NXT and like you've won major championships in NXT and you have the talent where like you're probably going to be on the main roster. It's just a matter of like you fitting in the right place, the right time. But like they don't want you like winning the NXT titles over and over and over again. That's kind of where it's like this is a good tool to have Kelani do something that like is important. Like the TNA Knockouts division is arguably, I know I sound like a broken record when we talk about this kind of stuff, but like it needs to be said collectively, the WWE women's roster probably the best in the world. Like if you take all of their brands and put them together, but if you split up all the brands how they are, and then you look at the TNA Knockouts division on its own against the individual brands, like I think you can make a strong argument that like they might have like collectively the best in-ring talent pool. And also, of course, you have the crossovers with NXT now as well, which has a lot of really, really good female talent as well. So, Kelani being the champion of that division, she has a lot that is going to be expected of her because the division is always so solid. And I think she's like totally capable of doing that. So I think like her being the TNA Knockouts champion actually is a good thing for her and for TNA, at least for the time being. And maybe, Indi's time comes later on. As far as the actual match goes, just some notes that I had. Kelani reversed a Hurts Donut attempt early and hit a nice cartwheel back elbow. She flipped out of a Death Valley driver attempt, hit a split stunner, and then put in a nice half crab. Indi kind of struggled, but eventually did hit a nice power bomb for a kick out at 2 on Kelani. Kelani caught a leg and did I don't know what you call it. It's like the RVD kick where you like step over the leg and then come around with the other leg. Hit a nice 5-star frog splash, kick out at 2, tried covering 3 times, which I like, the realistic side of professional wrestling where it's like you hit some really nice moves back to back. You got to kick out at 2, like go for another cover every now and then, like try to hold them down. Like you almost got him, go for it again. Indi hits a nice top rope elbow to the back of Kelani when Kelani was like on all fours, kind of crawling across the ring. Nice elbow to the back. Kelani reversed Hurts Donut with a victory roll, trade some pin attempts. Hurts Donut, and then Kelani gets her foot on the ropes. Also, she's the first person to ever kick out of Hurts Donut in TNA. They mentioned on commentary as well. And then you nailed the finish. Indi misses the elbow a second time off the ropes. Kelani hits a super kick, hits the one-of-a-kind split-legged moonsault, gets the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, good on Kelani Jordan. I got no problem with it.
Going back to what you said about Kelani, I think it's important to note that she has never been the NXT Women's Champion. She's been the NXT North American Women's Champion, and she's never been one to have to carry the NXT Women's division. I talked about this at length over on In the Weeds about how the TNA NXT partnership began, and that was TNA needed some depth in certain ways, and NXT had a wealth of women's talent, some of whom were just getting started and needed a place to work. Now you're looking at people like Kelani Jordan who are getting that final, they clearly see something in her. They see that she has the potential to lead a division and to lead a locker room. So what do? You give her opportunities. You don't necessarily put her in the NXT women's title match division right now. Instead, you give her the TNA Knockouts title. You see, if you can run this, then when you make your triumphant full-time return to NXT, you can do this. And therefore, you can move up the ladder, so to speak. For Kelani, this makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people, myself included, thought, transitional champion, you got stuck in a rut given the situation that was handed to you. And we got a super chat about that in a second, what we'll talk about. They did the best with what they could, and they realized Kelani Jordan could actually be a better long-term solution than a short-term. And I think that was the right play overall.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I guess like my comparison with her and Trick kind of makes sense and kind of doesn't from that standpoint. Like, because like you said, Kelani hasn't been the NXT Women's World Champion yet, but this is a good way to like see how she can carry a division before she does for NXT. So I totally agree there. And I think that Kelani has a longer time ahead of her probably in NXT than Trick does. Trick was more, in my opinion, in the position of like, he had already kind of done it all. And then like this was a good spot for him to be in, while Obafemi and now, of course, Ricky Saints winning the championship. But we'll get to Trick later on in the show. But I like Kelani. Like I liked her being, she was the first North American champion, right? She for NXT.
Now you're screwing me here. I think
she was. I think she was. I could be wrong, but I think she was. Anyway, she's doing. I like her a lot. I like Indi as well. But Kelani winning this match, I think, was the right move.
She was the first North American Women's Champion. She won in that ladder match at the Apex, the UFC Apex.
That's right. Yes.
Elegance was there for that. AO sends a super chat saying, "Fun fact: there hasn't been a successful Knockouts title defense since July at Slammiversary. They've hot potatoed since then." Now, I can't really go with the idea that it was hot potatoed because they ran into a lot of things that were out of their control. So, Masha was the champion going into Slammiversary. She lost it to JC Jane. JC Jane then lost it in the 3-way to Ash by Elegance when she was facing Masha Slamovich as well in the match. Ash by Elegance had to vacate the title. They crowned Kelani Jordan the same night at Victory Road. They're kind of stuck because of everything that was going on. They also didn't do the match that was supposed to be Ash by Elegance versus Masha Slamovich because of the domestic abuse allegations and the internal investigation being done by TNA on Masha Slamovich. So as a result, Masha is not part of the show, and then Ash is announced as medically unable to compete. They got stuck, and they made the most of what they could do. So while the stat is true, it has a lot of caveats involved as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Shall we move on?
We shall.
Hardcore War, baby. The System defeat Order 4. Yeah, you knew it was coming. You knew the System was going to win. But man, I really thought Order 4 could have used this for a plethora of reasons. I thought the match was a lot of fun. They brought back blood just for you. You specifically, Steven, nobody else. Hotch opens up the match. He takes on Edward Edwards, who, of course, it makes perfect sense because he's a Boston boy. And Boston bring out Wally, the Red Sox mascot, and everyone's very much a fan of that. I like that they pointed out that a lot of the members of Order 4 are wearing Lakers colors to go back to the Celtics versus Lakers NBA feud of years past. It was good stuff. Throughout the match, listen, they did all the spots. They even brought out the staple gun to private areas because that's just what you do now, thanks to Tony Storm. Big Agent Big Bill Zero had a really big showing. Love seeing him, Big Bill Collier. We do. This was, again, a fun match. Mustafa Ali comes out with a sledgehammer, and the first thing I say is there a throne somewhere to be? What's going on with the sledgehammer thing? The MVP of the match we have to shout out right away is Alicia Edwards, who was given the TNA VIP award months ago for her work. And she is so unsung when it comes to TNA in the backstage capacity. But when she's in front of the camera, Steven, this woman, when she was a heel, did the best work of her career with this. Do you want to know something? Everyone hated her guts for it. It was perfect. I thought tonight she went out there and said, yeah, sure, drop me on thumbtacks. Yeah, sure, beat my ass. Yeah, sure, thought you want a kendo stick with the barbed wire on it? Let's go for it. This was her night, and I thought everyone had their moments to shine in this match. Really, really strong stuff. The System win. Everyone looked good. Fun match. What did you think?
Yeah, so I'll go through some of my notes here in a second, but I will mention Little Bill, Big Bill, whatever you want to call him, Agent Zero. That guy does rule. Like, you got to give him his credit. He did very, very good in this match. He looked like a killer. Some of the spots I'm going to mention here in a second are going to reinforce that. But yeah, members of the System coming out with different stuff. Like, excuse me, like Brian Myers came out wearing the 33 for Larry Bird. We had JDC come out with a Patriots helmet or something.
Yeah, JDC came out with a Pats helmet.
Yeah. So you had a whole bunch of stuff in this one. Just some of the notes that I had, and I don't have even half of what I could as far as like to do this match true justice, but some of the stuff I got here. The match right off the start, Eddie Edwards, Tope Suicida at the outside, takes out was it Skylar or Hotch at the beginning? I can't remember who started the match. It was Hotch or Skylar.
It would have been Hotch. Jason Hotch.
Yeah, so he does the Tope Suicida, takes out Hotch right at the beginning of the match. not long after, when Skylar's in the ring, he's the one who gets cheese grated because he's bleeding all over the place. That was nasty, and that's what Joel's referring to when he talks about like some of this blood being there. We had the steel. I was putting down the notes about the cheese grater, and then I saw the steel stairs in the air. So I'm not sure who. Someone threw steel stairs on the outside of the ring, hit someone in the head. I looked up, heard the thud. I don't know if you can speak to who did that, but somebody launched the steel steps on the outside of the ring, and it seemed to land clean. Agent Zero does a choke bomb to Myers through a trash can that looked really nice. Zero did a choke bomb onto Alicia onto thumbtacks, which she took like a champ. She was covered in thumbtacks, as a matter of fact, by the end of this match. Moose hit multiple spears. The last one, well, first off, and good on the camera crew, the camera angle changed right at the right time, but Moose looks like I think he tripped on a chair going for like the first one, but he recovered very quickly. We love you, Moose. You know, I'm a big Moose guy here on this show. And when Moose put that chain around his body and hit that last spear, that was badass. My brother marked out for it too. My brother was watching the match with me, and he was like, "Oh, damn, he does the flip with the spear." Like he thought it was cool. He adds that twist to the. My brother doesn't get to watch a lot of TNA, but he marked out for that twist he put on the move. But yeah, Moose hits the spear with the chain wrapped around his body. Ali goes up top, does kind of a boneheaded thing where he like puts the tacks on top of Alicia's body, where it's like, bro, it's gonna hurt you way more landing on those also. But like Ali's crazy. But Ali's crazy.
He was feeling it.
I kid. Obviously, I know it's for the added effect, and also that Ali gives no Fs. Like he's just going for it at that point in the match. So many other things that happen at that point. He goes up top, but he misses the top rope 450 splash, and he lands stomach and legs first onto the tacks. And right after that happens, Edwards wraps his knee up with barbed wire and hits a Boston knee party to the head of Ali, pins Ali 1, 2, 3. And as you said, the system gets the win here. So I did expect the system to win as well, but I thought the match was very good. As I mentioned a moment ago, I did think that at some point, Special Agent Zero is such a mouthful of a name, right? Like
Big Bill Zero,
right. But in all honesty, like he did stand out to me during the match. I thought he did very well, looking like like one of the monsters in there, especially having to go toe to toe with Moose, who's such a big dude and who moves around so well. Like I thought the two of them did really well with one another as kind of like the two big men of the match. So yeah, this was good stuff. I thought the system. This system's been around a long time, but when you watch matches like this, it's not like one of those things where I'm like, it's not like I want to see them like break up. You just have to have like interesting stuff for them to be involved with going forward. But like they're a good group. I think everybody is talented individually and as a group with them. They work together really well, and they've been, as I mentioned, I mean, it's been years at this point that they've been together. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens next for them.
Me too. I want to shout out Moose doing the 2024 Bound for Glory callback with the chain around his shoulder and his side. Thought that was really good stuff. That when you can incorporate little things like that into your wrestling, I think that goes a long way. And on top of it, just the match was fun. It was a barbed wire Boston knee party, like I said, like you said. And at the moment, I was like, why does Edwards get the win on Mustafa Ali? And I'm like, oh right, they're in Boston. Well, they're not in Boston. They're in the long shadows of Boston, all 40 minutes from the city that they are. But it made sense. It was again a fun match. I thought it was a really good blow off to their feud, and I hope that now Mustafa Ali gets to move forward with whatever title he's going to go after, the world title, hopefully. Just putting that out there. Just put that, maybe the world title.
I know he just did something with Ethan Page on NXT, didn't he?
They had a match because it was going back. It was part of Showdown. So
right.
Match that he never got before he got released from WWE. They did the North American title match. Ali lost. He lost in a really, really good match that I do recommend people go watch if they don't regularly watch NXT. So that was probably the match of the night from that event. Let's talk about what could have been the match of the night tonight, the X Division Championship. This is the moment that people are expecting the big crash out. Leon Slaters and Javon Evans. This match was phenomenal, fantastic. Every positive thing you can say about this match, from two guys working very well with each other, doing all the things that they could do to each other. The kickouts were great. The crispness of the match was great. Some people are going to say I don't like the flipping and flying. I don't care. This was one of those matches where you can go back and you can look at this and say, holy shit, these two guys are 20-something years old, and they are doing this. The youngest X Division champion, the dude who is probably going to lead wrestling one day from a performance standpoint. They go to a 20-minute time limit draw. Jensen, I had been warned earlier in the week, people aren't going to really like the finish here. And I said, oh, well, people aren't going to really like a time limit draw. And then Santino Morello comes out. And he says, oh, who wants 5 more minutes? We can't let it end like these. And I'm like, I was starting to think maybe he should have just said, sorry, we are out of time. Because it got worse. The lights go out. 90 seconds into the return, the continuation of the match. NXT's Dark State are back in TNA, and they take out both men. This was not good. You put so much stock into this match. You put so much into the expectation that these two generational, and I don't use that word very much, generational stars. You thought this was going to be the answer. You thought Darkseid should come out and do this for the heat. That guy's on later in the card. Why do you let him have any influence over your creative? Someone's going to get in it. I know at one point someone's going to be like, oh, they did it because they wanted you to talk about it. Well, it's like, you know what else you could have talked about? You could have talked about somebody beating somebody in the match, because you know what? They haven't had a problem beating Javon Evans all the way up and down the card. Never. Because you know what happens? Javon Evans always talks his way back to the top. He always gets his way back into it. Leon Slater getting this win would have been huge for TNA from a positional standpoint for Leon Slater. Instead, they decided to do this, and they thought this was the answer. You didn't protect anyone. You actively made it worse by doing this, in my opinion. You took two guys that have the abilities, that have the charisma to get themselves over in a loss, and this was what you decided would be the right way to do it. Brother, we did this in July with the world title match. This didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, and not only does it position, if Leon just would have won just straight up, for instance, like he not only puts him on like that higher position that you're talking about, but like also TNA, like in comparison to NXT, like as people, I would imagine for the most part in this relationship, it's been pretty NXT heavy. And it's like, you know, to have Leon, like you said, it doesn't hurt Javon at all to lose to Leon if they just continue to book Leon strongly as the X Division champion, like, which is what they should do anyways. So they said on commentary collectively, this was the youngest X Division championship ever, with both guys only being 21 years old. Yeah, I agree with you as far as both of them being, you know, they're both going to be big time stars in, like, you know, the mainstream wrestling world for a very long time to come. I thought this match, I really enjoyed the match until the end. You know, I have a lot of notes on it as far as, you know, stuff that I you know, thought was worth mentioning here. Like pretty much right towards the beginning of the match, Javon Evans does an Undertaker dive. I'll call it the Undertaker dive over the top rope, just clears the top rope to the outside like it's nothing. By the way, they made a Jay Malachi reference at one point after the OG cutter during the match. And I thought that was cool that they mentioned Jay Malachi, because that was Javon Evans' indie name, for those of you who may not know. I had the privilege of seeing Jay Malachi before he was Javon Evans at some Battle Slam events here in Atlanta years back. And like at the time, he was probably only like 18, 19 years old. And even then, it was like you knew he was going to be great. And so anyway, just seeing the way that this match kind of played out, I once again, just a lot of really cool spots. Like, and also some hidden meaning, I'm sure too. Like Leon Slater hits the rewind kick, like the RVD kick, where like you miss and then you come back around. Slater hit a nice slingshot cutter, which was interesting because that's Kaz's move, and we had seen Kaz like just do that previously. But also kind of a nod to like Kaz has a title shot, like so, kind of some deeper meaning there maybe.
Also a former X Division champion, Frankie Kazarian.
True, very true. Of course, can't forget that. Also, wasn't he like co-champion at one point? I think him and Michael Shane might have been like co-champions.
God,
if I remember correctly.
You already had me go back to
sorry, just let the chat look it up.
Just
let the chat look it up. I mean, I'm unlocking weird memories here while we talk about this. We had a fight on the apron. Eventually, Evans reverses a slingshot cutter into a DDT. That was nice. Evans hits the OG cutter to the outside. Evans hits a nice springboard splash to the back, and then hits a really long frog splash, zone one, wherever he calls it. Like he goes like over halfway across the ring, and Leon kicks out at 2. A lot of really good back and forth. Evan, they're look like they're gonna trade chops back and forth. Instead, Evans fakes the chop and hits a cutter, then hits an OG cutter, kick out at 2. Both guys fight on the top rope. Both guys fall to the outside. And then as the match wraps up, basically Slater Evans throws Slater into the crowd, and then Slater jumps back over the barricade. That's when the match actually ends due to the time limit. Santino comes out, and he, in an attempt to redeem himself from earlier in the night when he got booed out of the building for crowning co-winners of the Gauntlet, he comes out and adds 5 more minutes to this match. And as Joel said, pretty much immediately, Javon Evans hits a Bersyko knee. There's a kick out at 2, a Utopia, a flip over the turnbuckles to the outside. Evans hits a top rope Spanish fly. Lights go out. There's Dark State. Really weak finish. Like if they were going to add the 5 minutes, like there was no point in adding 5 minutes and then doing that. Like if you're going to do this stupid finish, like you didn't even need to do Santino and like add the 5 minutes. You could have just had them cut. And not that I would have wanted this to happen at all, but I'm just saying we could have saved ourselves a little bit of time and just done this without all the added stuff and the time limit draw. And also, I get it. Like people, like you said, like people in the chat, I'm sure are saying, WWE is going to have a say in how their talent is booked on these TNA shows, and when they co-brand, like WWE has a lot of, but I don't think that like you said, Joel, I don't think that like if Javon would have just lost this match, it wouldn't have. And on the flip side, honestly, it wouldn't have been that huge of a deal if Javon would have even won. If like they had a series of matches that Leon like eventually wound up winning the title back or something. Like there's 1,000 different ways it could have gone where both sides could have won at the end of the day without doing this finish.
You could have had Leon Slater win, retain the title. Javon Evans raises his hand and says, "You're the man now," and that's it. They probably wouldn't even talk about it on NXT. They wouldn't even make reference to it. They'll talk about it on TNA. People aren't really watching TNA compared to NXT. I get it. That's fine. But instead, you went to this because you think maybe you'll have Leon show up more on NXT. Maybe you'll do a match of what? You'll either do a return match at Halloween Havoc, or you'll do a tag match against Dark State at Halloween Havoc. To what does this accomplish on the TNA side?
Right.
What money do they get out of this for doing this particular finish? It really makes no sense. By the way, 2004 for 2 weeks, Kazarian and Michael Shane were the TNA X Division.
I was right.
Yeah, they were in Ultimate X. They both got the title at the same time. They won. And then 2 weeks later, the title was already vacated, so P.D. Williams won in a gauntlet for the gold, because that's just what you do.
There you go. I remember. That's how long I've been keeping it with this company.
Dex Baker sends a super chat, and you can too over here or over on Humper Chats. We got one in the can for soon. Dex Baker sends one saying, "I've been vocal about not being happy since the rebrand. I took a break from Slammiversary until after Bound for Glory. Would this show have won me back?" Well, Dex, it depends what you were looking for in your pro wrestling, and it depends what you were expecting TNA to do. I think tonight's show had a lot of really solid moments. Thought it had a lot of very TNA-esque moments, if you know, you know. Overall, they did several things right, but they also did something like this, which for some, that probably turned you off quite a bit, to the point where next thing you know, they sent out Chris Bay. Nobody's going to boo Chris Bay. Ain't nobody going to say, boo, you just did the Dark State finish. Boo, Chris Bay. Boo, this man who had a nearly life-altering career and who knows what ending injury. Who boo this guy? You're not going to boo this man. You're going to cheer him vociferously because he has been working his ass off to reclaim his life. Anyway, he announces a new North American attendance record, 7,794. That's what TNA announced. We'll see. They had 7,024 at Slammiversary, so if that's sure. And then he teases one final table because that's next. Do you have anything to add about Christopher Bay making an appearance?
No, it's just good to see him, like, you know, I know this sound extreme, just like kind of like moving around, like looking like, you know, I just want to see him. I want to see him back. You know, I know it's a long road to recovery. He dealt with a devastating injury, but he's a guy that I've been a fan of for quite some time, and I think he's done great work in the time he's been in TNA as well. And going from what it looked like when he first got that injury and seeing the recovery, and then seeing him, you know, I've seen him like pop up other places like indie events and stuff like that as well. He hadn't been seen in TNA, I think they said, since April though. But it, you know, good to see him just out there kind of just like looking loose, moving around, you know, like just, so I hope we see him in the ring, you know, in the future. I think that's I know he says like, he calls it like the greatest story ever told. Like that's going to be a hell of a story when he gets back in the ring. So yeah, great to see. And hopefully TNA can, like, you know, if it's possible, get him involved more, just like on the show. Like if they need like and some sort of, I don't know, whether it's an authority figure or a manager, maybe make a good manager for somebody actually, or something. I don't know.
Here's an idea. Get rid of Santino Marella, replace him with Chris.
Well, I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, I'm honestly not a big Santino guy to begin with. I think he's ultra goofy, but I know that's what the point is. So he's just never really been so much for me, to be completely honest. But I'm all for that idea. But I'm also not going to stand here and be like, fire Santino Marella. Like, it's not like that. But I would like it to, you know, I think it'd be refreshing to have somebody different than Santino. And if it can be Chris Bay, I think that's a win-win.
I think that if you could bet on anything in this world, I would bet on how you could get Chris Bay to replace Santino Marella. And if you could do that, there's only one place you could do that. It's MyBookie.
MyBookie AG is where Fightful is getting all of our odds, not just pro wrestling, which, yeah, you can bet on pro wrestling, UFC, boxing. That's where we're getting our odds from. If you're watching In the Weeds and they're talking about basketball odds, it's going to be from MyBookie AG. Use the code FIGHTFUL, get a $50 bonus when you deposit $100, or get a $100 bonus when you deposit $200. Check it out. If you think you know more than the average wrestling fan, head over to MyBookie. They have some odds up all the time for upcoming events, whether it be WWE, AEW, anybody. Make sure you check them out in addition to their other fantastic deals. They've been around for quite a while, very reliable. MyBookie AG. Use that code FIGHTFUL. Now, only bet what you can, and please bet responsibly, but head over, see what lines they got now. Not just for pro wrestling. Maybe you're interested in baseball, football, basketball, soccer, or just football again, right? MyBookie AG.
He said In the Weeds. That's my show. So you should go and watch my show. And also, please bet responsibly. Whatever it is, I know I'm talking to Mr. Betman himself. Steve.
Gambling rules. Go out there and do your thing, everybody. But be an adult, gamble responsibly. And if you have a problem, go get yourself some help. And don't be one of those people that actually gambles on the hotline itself, because there's actually people doing that as well. I will say, I had a very good weekend. I won a lot of money on sports this weekend. I'm not going to lie. So it was a good weekend for me. It could wind up maybe being a good weekend for you as well. But once again, be an adult and gamble responsibly.
You know, I just realized I could have done a segue based on Chris Bay being from Vegas. I could have done his last appearance being in Las Vegas at Unbreakable, but instead I had to go the route I did, and that's just it. That's what I get. Get your super chats in, get your humper chats in. We're heading down the home stretch. Last couple of matches. Let's talk about it. Oh, fuck. One final table. The NXT TNA tag titles are on the line. The Hardys defeat Team 3D. A full 10 ass minutes of entrances to start this whole thing. Shout out to Spike Dudley. I had a feeling we were going to see him. He was at the tapings in Rhode Island. He mentioned that he had a good time there. It felt to me like he was going to be a part of this. I'm so glad that he came out and brought the Dudleys to the ring. They did the tables and ladders and chairs. Oh my. The Hardys are wearing the same pants that they wore at the 2000 Royal Rumble and most of their 1999 year. There was so much that happened in this match, and it was, listen, man, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good match. I don't know what you expected. It was a nostalgia match. Jeff went through a table right away. They did the SummerSlam 2000 spot at the TLC match where Jeff goes off the top of the ladder through the two tables to take out Devon for the rest of the match because God forbid Devon do anything other than those two back bumps that he took. They took out Old Yeller at the end, and you had sad-ass Bully Ray, who, by the way, tells you, oh, I don't have emotions because I'm so tough. Go watch Talk is Jericho. He did that this week, and I was like, ugh, gross. And he's just doing, oh, don't hurt me, but I guess I deserve it. He thinks it's cinema. Buddy, I can't tell you this was a good match. I can't tell you this was worth your time, but I can tell you people were into it. If you were, good for you. I saw it 25 years ago, and it was great 25 years ago for what it was. 25 years later, Team 3D take off their boots, give them to the Hardys. What that means? Well, they can pick those boots right back up in Saudi Arabia in 2 years, and we're just back where we started. I don't know. This match wasn't for me. This match was never going to be for me. The Hardys win. They are the cash cows of TNA. I love the work that they do, and they continue to do good work. This was not a match that needed to exist. When they brought it up at Slammiversary, I thought it was going to be the biggest waste of time, and guess who was right? They sold tickets on the back of this and not on the stories they were telling. Here we are. So have at it.
Well, I will say this. I think this is probably better than what I expected it to be when the match was announced. When we were talking about that after Slammiversary, after they had talked about how this was going to happen on this show. Well, I don't know if they had mentioned the show at that point, but we knew it was going to happen at that point. They also had advertised it on, I know on like some of the WWE PLEs, maybe a Saturday Night's Main Event or something. I know they had like the Dudleys and the Hardys like in the crowd, like doing promotion for his big match over in TNA and stuff. So like they did hype it up about as best as they probably could. It's also very nice that the WWE and TNA have this working relationship now so that they can at least show the WWE footage when they show like the Hardys highlights and Dudley's highlights and stuff. They can actually use WWE footage, which was nice. Yeah, you mentioned most of the big spots of the match. As far as like the, pretty much the match starts, like the bell rings, Jeff gets thrown out of the ring and they hit a 3D on Matt like immediately. Dudley's just straight up do like the Samoa Joe, like they just walk away from Jeff's whisper in the wind attempt, just move. Jeff crashes and burns, and they follow up with the Wazza, which is amazing. That like, is anyone in this chat even old enough to know what that's actually from? Like, I remember what it's from, but does anybody else remember what that the Wazza actually was from? Because it was a very, very short. It was like a meme before memes existed.
I can pick out 3 people in this chat who are.
Yeah, what if anyone?
I know who you are.
But they hit they hit that on Jeff with Devon coming off the top, headbutt to the nads of Jeff Hardy. We get the Devon, get the tables from Bubba to Devon, so they get tables. Pretty much right after that, Jeff gets 3D through a table. And immediately I'm like, wait a second, like that isn't it, right? Like I would imagine more, like, they both have to go through, but I may have missed it. I don't know if they didn't make it clear initially, but I at that moment I was a little confused, and I think the crowd might have been too. They were like, because it was kind of quiet. It was like, wait, was that it? Like that was fast. But that just meant Jeff was not eliminated, but he was, now Matt has to go through. It's down 2-1 basically, but Jeff's still in the match. Matt misses Devon and goes through a table on the outside. But that doesn't count because Matt put himself through the table. Because that also would have been a really anticlimactic end to this thing. We had Devon set up Jeff on the tables that are on the outside of the ring in front of the ladder, and Devon climbs up the ladder, which is a callback to the match you referred to back in 1999 in the WWF. But the tables are turned here, and Devon's going for revenge. So he's climbing the ladder. Jeff's on the tables, but Matt fights Devon off of the ladder. Jeff ultimately does hit a swanton off the ladder through the two tables, where Jeff barely gets to Devon on the second table, and I think lands with the back of his head on the rungs of the ladder somehow.
So rough, not good.
Yes. I mean, I'm always sketched that he's going to fall to the side. When he's on the top of the ladder, I'm always afraid he's going to go one way or the other. And like, there's nothing stopping you from complete disaster.
Well, the refs were holding it this time. By the way, I got to point this out. They did not gimmick those tables. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if people know what a gimmick table in wrestling looks like. You know those things that go around the table,
like hard rubber, like plastic metal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are made to add structural integrity to the table. I don't know who didn't take those off today, but typically, if you watch any wrestling that is televised, they take that round piece off to remove the structural integrity so that the table can break the second you go through it. I don't know who screwed up, but my God, that could have been much worse.
Real tables, cry me a river.
I mean, listen, Bubba thinks that everyone is, don't show emotion. That's weakness. Sure. Whatever they thought this story was, it just, whatever. Anyway.
But so nonetheless, Jeff, he gets enough of Devon and the tables both break. Scary moment for Jeff, because like I said, he landed really close to that ladder and I think hit his head on the ladder on the way down. But they pulled it off. Matt accidentally throws he accidentally basically saboos Jeff in the face, throwing a chair in his face on accident. Bully Ray goes for a powerbomb on Jeff. He does hit the powerbomb, but Matt moves the table out of the way. So the match continues. There's a twist of fate and swanton combination by Matt and Jeff onto Bully Ray. The Hardys take turns hitting Ray in the back with the chair. And as you mentioned, Joel, Ray nods at them. And the Hardys do basically a double choke slam through the table, which was kind of random. That was the finish. Ode to the Brothers of Destruction, another tag team pass, since we're doing all of the callbacks and all these matches across companies. And then after the match, the Hardys help the Dudleys up to their feet. They all hug. And as you mentioned, Joel, the Dudleys give the Hardys their boots. Will this be the end for the Dudleys? I don't know. Bully, I would imagine Bully will. It was common knowledge that this was it for Devon, but I assumed that Bubba is going to continue randomly showing up, at TNA and on indie dates and stuff like that. I feel like he's still pretty involved. So maybe this, it's symbolic though, as far as if this is truly the last time the Dudleys team up together, a nice ending for that team. And Devon, I feel like, is getting out at the perfect time, honestly, because he doesn't look like he moves around particularly great, just moving around. But he got through this match, and I think it went about as good as it possibly could have for everybody involved, honestly. And this is a good one to end on if you're Devon. If Bubba wants to continue, he can kind of do whatever he wants. But and so can Devon, obviously. But this kind of felt like this is it for Devon. This is it for Team 3D, the Dudley. And it was also nice that they have this race with WWE, so they can actually call themselves the Dudley Boyz and wear Dudley Boyz merchandise and stuff too, without having to always tippy-toe around the Dudleys and have to use Bully Ray and Brother Devon and Team 3D. They can just say the Dudley Boyz and not get in trouble, which is nice. And it was great seeing Spike as well, as you mentioned. It would have been cool to see him get involved and hit an acid drop during the match or something. But, beggars can't be choosers. It was good to see him. Would have been cool to see Lita, but I'm sure there's still probably maybe not the greatest relationship between Lita and Matt and the Hardys to this day, I would imagine. Huh?
Yeah, it's my understanding they're okay.
I'm sure they're okay, but I don't know if they've ever done like a reunion on screen of any kind. And I
think it's more people just weren't available to take bumps.
Well, fair enough. If that's the case too. Like, I mean, as a fan, like it would have been cool to see Lita with Team 3 or with Team Extreme. But like for whatever reason, we didn't get that, but we did get Spike, which was very cool. So, like I said, I had low expectations for this match. I thought this went about as good as it could have.
Yeah, it was fine. This felt like the symbolic end of Team 3D. Bully will continue working if he so chooses, and it felt like Devon was just kind of the loose, the wild card in this match. Everyone kind of knew he had health ailments. He tried to talk around it, and he came in and did a few moves, and that was it. So came and went. Now it's over. We got a Humper chat from Feeling Dreepy saying, was at the show, and while I really enjoyed watching it live, most of the booking was yikes. Santana really should have won the title at Slammiversary, partly because 10% of the crowd wouldn't have left before the match and 50% seconds after the bell rang. Steven Jensen, once again, this is going into my point to prove that when you try to run a nostalgia act as the biggest announced match on your card, while also simultaneously trying to tell the story of your world title being in the clutches of the evil NXT bigger brother brand, and they can't get their guy to get the title back, and they're trying to build the heat. You can't do both in one night unless you bookend them. Instead, they ran them side by side, and exactly what I expected happened, and that was after the Dudleys and Hardys did their thing, and I heard from many people saying, oh, I'm really excited to see Hardys and Dudleys. That's why I'm going. After that match, you could see empty seats throughout the crowd. A very frustrating moment for anyone who's been watching TNA, covering TNA, a fan of TNA. Your world title got their dick stomped by a nostalgia play. And that, to me, is awful and worthless. They made money, allegedly, so I'm sure they're happy.
They made it clear throughout the show that the main event was going to be the TNA World Championship, but like coming into the show, like I was a little afraid that they were going to close on the Hardys and Dudleys, like because of everything you just said. But I also figured that Santana was finally going to win tonight, and if he's going to do that, like you really should close the show on that for obvious reasons. It's the biggest story. They're not calling it finishing the story, but they're basically calling it that. And he, it's been a long time coming, and like it should close the show, and it is the biggest champ. It should be like I'm outside of specific circumstances, I'm almost always for your main world championship closing the show as the main event if that title is being defended. So, but I'm with you. I'm with you. And I'm with whoever did the Humper chat. I'm with you as well. As far me and Joel talked about that at the top of the show, like Slammiversary. It was overdue then even, but like then would have been better than now still. Yes.
And if you thought it was fun then, let's talk about now. Thursday, instead of having a show that could have been live or some sort of celebration, once again, TNA has decided, we're going to do a clip show because, our biggest show of the year, everything culminates at this event, Bound for Glory. You're not going to watch on Thursday. You're going to be still out with your hangover from Sunday. So we're running a clip show. I don't mind having a night off. That's great. I wish I got to pick it on my own terms, but instead I'm being told I'm off on Thursday. Sure. However, then they get a little bit more fun with it. And they're like, oh, well, let's talk about the next time we're on pay-per-view. And I'm like, I wish you hadn't, because then you decided to say, not only is TNA Genesis coming back in January of 2026, they're coming back to Dallas, which is where they were in Garland last year. They're coming back to Dallas, to Texas. No dates announced, no venue announced. They don't have tapings from now until Turning Point in February. November. I don't know why I said February.
I'm about to say, dude, there's no way. That would be like
my mistake.
What's happening? Yeah.
For 4 weeks, they have 4 weeks of nothing announced, unless they're going to go and work the PC for the next 4 weeks and then do their TV there. Don't know what's going on. they're going to do the Turning Point show, and then they'll tape for a couple of weeks, and then they're going to do Final Resolution, and then they're going to tape for about 4 weeks, 2 of which will be used in December, 2 of which I assume will then be used after the new year to prep you for Genesis. I'm assuming Genesis is going to be the second weekend of January, given their taping schedule, but I don't know because nothing's announced. They don't have a venue. They don't have a date. I can only go by the vibe of the TV tapings. Nothing is official, and it's quite telling when TNA is sitting there saying like, oh, yeah, we're going to have a pay-per-view. Don't worry about it. Don't ask us when. Don't ask us where. We give you we have concepts of a pay-per-view. That's about as good as it's going to get. That was a little telling to me. I don't like it.
I was confused by that as well. I was looking for, I was mainly looking for the date because we'll be reviewing the show. So I was like, oh, what day, what random Saturday or Sunday night do I need to be available in January for the TNA review? And I was like, oh, I didn't see a date there. So that makes 2 of us.
I am not announcing anything. I'm not reporting anything. Looking at my calendar, the 18th or the 25th are not even actually the 11th and the 18th are the 2 weeks that I could see them picking. Actually, no, it would be the 18th or the 25th. Sorry, the 18th and the 25th. Those are the 2 Sundays that I can see them running. Probably the 25th, if I had to guess. But again, okay. I'm not reporting anything. This is just looking at the calendar, thinking of the TV tapings, knowing how they tape, knowing what they try to fill. January 18th, January 25th. One of those 2 dates. Don't know where. If I had to guess, they're probably trying to knock down Curtis Caldwell again, do Dallas, Texas, Garland, Texas, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm fully guessing, and I don't know because nobody else has announced anything. We're just there. We're just stuck. The Full Sail tapings are in November after Turning Point, which is the 15th, I believe, of November. So there's a full month till then. And Full Sail tapings only get you for 2 weeks, and then that's going to get you to December, which is the last show, which is Final Resolution. Thank you for my brain. And then they're going to tape 2 nights of Impact, which is going to cover 4 weeks. Those 4 weeks will be 2 weeks in December. Then they'll probably do 2 weeks of Best of because Christmas, New Year. And then they'll go back to the last 2 weeks to get you to the pay-per-view, which I assume, again, probably the 18th or the 25th. That's where my brain is. That's where the math comes in. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that you mentioned with that is like just the idea that they don't have a show this Thursday, which I think is it's unusual because like Bound for Glory, and now granted, I know TNA does a lot of TNA Plus events, but they have like their main like 4 pay-per-views, and Bound for Glory is what they essentially market as their WrestleMania. And imagine if WWE just like didn't do the Raw after WrestleMania. Like that's kind of what it feels like here on like a different scale, of course, but it's like, you know, if you're TNA, wouldn't you want your fans like buzzing over Santana finally winning this title and then seeing him, you know, as soon as possible, preferably live, like on a show, like, you know, with that title belt, you know, cutting a promo or at least setting up that next big feud for like fans to look forward to that might bring them all the way to Genesis or something. I mean, like it just doesn't make any, like, it doesn't make sense to not follow up on your neck, like the show that most people watch, their weekly event right after their biggest show of the year and have like you said, essentially have a clip show, which is like, everyone hates that, even when it's just like a show that you're like a regular show you're into. Like I remember being a kid and you would randomly, you'd be watching like Saved by the Bell or something. And I'd be like looking forward to like a new episode airing. And it'd just be like clips of old episodes. And I'd be like, this is a waste of time. I've already seen all this. Like, I want to see what happens with Zach and Kelly next. I got to wait a whole other week to find out about this Jeff guy that Kelly's with now. Like, what is this? Clip show. So yeah, I just think that's a miss by TNA. That's kind of doing wrong by your fans, especially it's doing wrong by Santana. Like you waited this long to finally get the title on this guy after all this time and after all this fan support, and they don't have a new episode this week, which is just, that's unusual to me.
Chat's talking about the clip show being because of the contract stuff. I can tell you, these people will play ball if you ask them to come to work, whether it's a PPA, pay per appearance, or some reason. These wrestlers, by and large, will play ball. And plus, not everyone's contract is up in this company. They could be doing something. They could be doing anything. But for the last few years, this is what they've done. They have run a clip show after Bound for Glory to give whoever something. And I hate this ongoing TV negotiation bullshit. I'm again, show me, don't tell me, because I've heard Carlos Silva for the last 3 months telling us that we're on the 30-yard line. We're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. I have a phone call today that's going to get us a little bit closer. This is Tommy Tallarico bullshit those who know. That is the stuff that we're dealing with right now. Is that I'm hopeful that there is a television deal on the horizon, but I don't think that not having television booked should be the reason that you can't announce a television deal, because you still have to have content in the can. You still have partners internationally that run your show. You still have a plus service where you air the show, a YouTube channel that has international viewership opportunities that you've monetized before. You have streamers showing your show in a co-streaming fashion. You used to do it with us. The point is, telling people it's coming is one thing, but you can't just come with nothing. That's a poor party host showing up with nothing. You need content in the can. That's why the next 4 weeks being zeros on the board makes little to no sense to me.
Yeah, and full transparency, I don't know enough about like the contract negotiations and how all that TV stuff works for them and the timing of all of this. But like you just said, and I can't sit here and definitively be like it would be a good business decision to do this or that, because it might not be. But like from a fan perspective, if there's something up with the TV and you can't air, or you don't know where you're going to air next or whatever, you got to run something on like YouTube or something. You got to do something. Like you got to follow up somehow with something. Like the fans need to see Santana, their new champion, as soon as possible and see what is next for him. Because they tried to set it up at the end of the show, which we'll talk about, with like the fake cash-ins. But like that, I don't think is enough to like carry people that long. Like you need to like get in there. I just feel like we're in an era right now where you can distribute in a trillion different ways to your audience, and to just not do anything seems like a bad idea. I don't know how else to put it.
I'm gonna mention this one person saying, okay, keep bitching like the typical guy who acts like a business guy who's not, and this is why I don't like listening to you. If you want blind honesty, deal with mine. Meanwhile, saying, oh, they could do a live show, but that's just not how it works. It's not WWE. Motherfucker, they do a live show after most of their big events at this point. They'll run one and then they'll tape for TV. I follow these people. I have to. It's my job. So don't tell me that I don't know. I'll give you Joker's level of explanation as to what is going on. You want blunt honesty? Here it is. You don't know shit, Richard. You don't. And it's weird because you need content to get a deal. You need a place to show your stuff. And if you don't have it, then nobody knows what the fuck your deal is. If you don't want to be on this channel, go away. World Championship. Mike Santana wins it.
Man, I thought you were about to hit him with the wedding singers. Like, I have a microphone and you don't. So listen every goddamn word that I have to say.
I got no time for this. I'm tired. I've been up since 6 a.m. I'm fucking over these people. Sorry, I told people that I would stop the swearing. We'll do that on In the Weeds instead tomorrow. 10 a.m. Eastern. World title. Mike Santana beats Trick Williams. Yes. Conan's there. Thank God, because he's a scarecrow outstanding in his field. Boston Red Sox quip going to a Yankees fan is amazing. Let me tell you. By the way, anyone who shows up in Yankees gear after the Blue Jays won, God bless. I thought this was effective. This was a great match. This was fun. I thought that they did a good job of doing the walk and brawl to set it up at the opening. I thought that there was enough that went on. from melodrama throughout the match to make this make sense. And I thought that it was about time. Again, I talked about it earlier. You had the Dudleys and the Hardys, and that split the audience as to why they were there. And it clearly the Dudleys and Hardys won from a popularity standpoint. Santana wins. I thought it was really good stuff. He then gives the title to his daughter, bows at her feet, worships this woman who is his flesh and blood. I thought that was a moment. I loved it. We'll get to what happens after the match. If you want to go through what you thought of it, there's one moment I would just want to point out. They do a top rope Uranagi, and they called it that, but I feel like that was meant to be a Spanish fly. That was a very awkward moment. But otherwise, I want to say, before you hop into it, someone in the chat mentioned, shout out Trick Williams. You know what? Yes, shout out to Trick Williams. I thought that he did a very good job as a TNA World Champion. I thought that he had really good matches. I thought that he carried his part of the deal very well. I have my qualms about how Trick is presented as a performer, but I think for what he was trying to do, I think he knocked it out of the park more often than not. Your thought on Mike Santana finally winning the big one?
Well, yeah, as we talked about throughout the show, like I obviously this was the right move. It just was super long overdue, but like I am happy that he is the champion and he has finally won this title. As far as the match goes, the notes I've got a lot of notes. I'll probably skip around, but basically, as you mentioned, the match started. Well, didn't even technically start right away. They did fight like into the crowd and everything before the bell even sounded. Trick Williams hit Santana outside the ring with his title belt also and rolled him into the ring. And that's when the match actually started. So Santana started as like a massive disadvantage. When the bell rang to make the match official, Trick immediately hit a trick kick, but Santana kicked out at 2. Trick slingshotted Santana head first into the ring post on the outside, and that busted Santana open. He was bleeding pretty good throughout the match. Santana hit a nice Superman punch or elbow, like ran off the steel stairs on the outside and hit it. And then Trick followed up by hitting a backdrop on Santana onto the stairs. Santana got into the ring, I think, after like a count of 9. Santana eventually hits, I can't remember what he called it. It's like back roll cutter. It's like
rolling buck 50.
Thank you. And then hits the outlined in chalk, does this corner attack, then goes up top. Him and Trick both, actually, no, Trick, I think, knocks him off at that point onto the ring apron to the outside. That's what leads to Trick going over to the crowd, and Santana's daughter slaps Trick from the front row. Santana does a tope con hilo over the top rope, flip to the outside to take out Trick Williams after the slap from the daughter. Santana gets a near fall in the ring, hits an attitude adjustment, then hits a top rope 450 splash. Trick kicks out at 2. Trick reverses a spin the block with a Uranagi, hits another Uranagi, and then that's the spot, comes to the spot where you're talking about where they go up top. Looks like it maybe was a Spanish fly attempt, but Trick does come down and more so like a rock bottom than a Uranagi off the top, and Trick kicks out at 2. Trick grabs his title belt, he swings the title, and he misses Santana. We had some pin attempts, kicks out at 2. Trick kick, spin the block, kick out at 2. And this was the first spin the block that had been kicked out of since Santana had returned to TNA. And then Trick winds up going for a pinfall right after that, and Santana kicks out at 2. We get to the kind of finishing sequence here. We had Santana hit the spin the block on the lawyer that looked very familiar. And then we had Trick Williams hit a trick shot for a kick out at 2. And then basically the finish of the match, Santana's on the mat. He's crawling up to his feet and like he's looking at his daughter in the front row. He's pointing at her. They're connecting. They're having a moment. Santana moves out of the way from the trick kick, hits a big lariat, hits the spin the block, and wins the TNA World Championship. So yeah, good moment, really solid match, and the right guy won. I'll leave it back to you if you have any additional thoughts. And then obviously there was some stuff after the match.
No, there's not much to add. I saw someone in the chat mention, imagine if you had done this in New York. Said it a billion times, should have happened there. And then tonight's match would have been Trick getting his guaranteed rematch. And I think, or if you'd done a best of 3, that would have been something else too. Trick could have had 2 losses in a row and really cemented Mike Santana as the guy. Now, again, going back to contracts, we don't know what that's going to look like soon for Santana, but we also know that there's a lot of people who are going to go after that title, 2 of which are co-holders of the Call Your Shot trophy. Nick Nemeth comes out, and while he's posing down against Santana, the lights go out. And the guitar strum, it's Elijah. He's back, baby. He knocks out Nick Nemeth with the guitar. And this is what's really frustrating me. This is a me problem. On Thursday, when I was watching the show, they do their BioFlex injury report every single week. And every single week, it's like it's not completely innocuous stuff. And they mentioned Elijah. And I was like, my antenna are going up. My spidey sense is tingling. My ears are burning. And I know something's up. But I didn't say anything. And I'm so frustrated with myself because I would have said, I was like, why would you talk about Elijah right now? Because I'm thinking to myself, I probably got a few months left on his recovery. It can't be that. Da, 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 da. No, it turns out he's just a superhuman monster. And Elijah seems to be back, whether or not he's cleared. I mean, he hit a guitar shot. That was all he did. I don't know the extent to which he is back. But they made a reference to him on Thursday's show. And I'm very upset that I caught it, but I didn't say anything. The vibe, I messed up. Kazarian then shows up. He comes up behind Mike Santana, but then he realizes he can't cash in because he doesn't have the stupid trophy. So he basically says, hold on, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna beat your ass. And then Santana takes him out, rolling buck 50. That's it. It's over. And then you get the big celebration where Mike Santana presents the title to his daughter, brings her in the ring. It was a very sweet moment. Again, if you had done it in New York, oh buddy, you would have had the moment.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more. Should have definitely done it then. At least we got it now. Good moment. The ending with the all that really accomplishes is, I guess, how do you say, solidifying or making it very clear that between Kaz and Nick Nemeth, whoever, making it really clear to the fans that you can't cash this in unless you have the trophy with you, which is clearly going to play into the storyline of these guys having to fight over this trophy. Because when they both were co-winners, my initial thought was, oh, well, they'll both essentially get their own trophy, or they'll take, they each get cash-ins is how I thought of it. But then after I saw that, I was thinking, well, now it comes off more like, if it was a tag team thing, which makes no sense for them to win the tag titles together or anything like that. But, I could see them winning something together, or maybe both of them at the same time saying I want a world title shot, and they both hand the trophy over for a triple threat or something. I don't know. But, it does seem like a big part of the story is going to be who can cash that in first. And the one is going to probably be try to prevent the other from cashing in so they can cash in themselves. So we'll see how it goes. But I don't think you really needed to do any of that after the match. You probably could have just had Santana win, celebrate with his family, feel good moment.
You had to tease it because you did have to tease it. It immediately gives a little bit of pause to the moment, and it gives people oh no, they're not gonna it does just to push back. It does create that drama, which I think it's worth it. And again, the idea is Santana fought it off, and then the fans can go back to celebrating. It was a little moment added.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Especially with them not having TV for who knows how long. So you do at least plant those seeds. Also, that it does make things more clear. Like I mentioned, at the very least, about kind of what might be happening going forward with all that. So I don't necessarily disagree. I just wish, like everyone else, here's the thing. All right, now Santana has the title. Okay, unfortunately, there's no episode of TNA Impact this week to follow up on it. That's a bummer. That's a missed opportunity. But from there, let's hope they got this planned out at least to some degree here. I mean, I would imagine the WWE likes Santana a lot. I would just guess. I would assume that they like him and his work that they've done with like the crossover stuff. And whether they have any say or not, I'm just saying, like, I think Santana, like, because I have literally no idea what Santana's future in TNA is. Like, is he there signed long term or not? I don't know. Do you?
FightfulSelect.com.
Okay, there you go.
Very
so go to FightfulSelect.com and get your updates. But
you'll be getting plenty of updates. A lot of TNA deals coming up. Some are hoped to be retained. Some won't. But regardless, yes, tune in. FightfulSelect.com. Best five in the business.
There you go. Go to Fightful Select. But I guess my point is, like, either way, like, even just hypothetically speaking, let's say Santana is their champion, but like he signs to WWE, this is a complete hypothetical situation. They already have a good working relationship where, like, it isn't completely out of the realm of possibility that he could be signed to WWE and continue to be the TNA champion until there was like the right spot open for him in WWE. You know what I mean? Like, Santana's the right kind of guy where, like, he could work either company and it totally makes sense. So, like, yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with this title reign. I would not have had the people win the gauntlet for the trophy, but that's where we're at. I'm interested. I want to see some fresh opponents for Santana. They got a great roster of talent with TNA. I want to see. I'm not necessarily that interested in him versus Nick Nemeth or him versus Kaz, although I think that he will have good matches with both guys. You know, I like to see some of the younger up and coming talent get a crack at him as well, though.
I'm going to add this. So I see AO in the chat who would donate a super chat earlier saying, you know, Trick would have complained that he lost in a triple threat back at Slammiversary. Well, that's the point, because that's how you set up a match at Bound for Glory. You let Trick chase for a little bit and you let Santana build his babyface heat or his babyface fire going into a big show. Santana would then beat him fair and square here. That's how you would build this particular title reign for Santana. Instead, they went the route that they did, and I think that it had a negative effect on TNA in certain ways. Again, I understand. Allegedly, they broke their North American attendance record. I get it. And if they did, good for them. We'll see how that flares out in the next 6 to 8 months, and we'll also see just how accurate those numbers that they gave are. So, again, there's many, many sides to the story. I just think personally, having watched it, having covered it, you could have done it at Slammiversary and you could have ran this back at Bound for Glory, maybe done some sort of a one-on-one, whether that's some, I don't know, chairs match, tables match, whatever you want, some gimmick match, or just a one-on-one straight up. You never beat me one-on-one. Let's do it. You could have done a really good job telling that story. But here we are. They did what they did.
Yep. Well, and I think also at the end of the day, you know, I think that they made some good decisions. They made some questionable decisions. Ultimately, the right guy is finally the TNA World Champion. And it is pretty cool that, like, if you would have told me back in 2002 when TNA started and, like, they were, like, running, like, Nashville Asylum shows and stuff, like, if you would have told me back then they're going to be running in 2025, so, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty, it's a hell of an accomplishment that this company has lasted as long as it has, and it continues to be as successful as it is. Like, it's easy to compare this, you know, other companies to the WWE and AEW and this and that, but like TNA has, like, found their own lane. They've you know, it's very respectable, the fact that, like, they have, and so many great talents have come through there and made their name there and gone on to do great things either in that company or other companies and stuff all over the world. So, like, I just wanted to kind of end on that. Like, it's Bound for Glory. It's the quote unquote their biggest show of the year. To be fair, all their pay-per-views seem about the same level to me, but, like, that's a good thing. Like, I feel like, you know, you get your money's worth, and you know, they do put on good shows on pay-per-view. So, yeah, if there's anyone out there in the chat that's watching this that remembers those old TNA days of, you know, guys like when AJ Styles was there and, like, Amazing Red and, you know, America's Most Wanted and all those kind of guys, like, and the girls like Gail Kim and Awesome Kong and, like, so many, I mean, beautiful people, you know, going to the Hall of Fame tonight and stuff. Like, it's just, it's very cool that that TNA is still doing their thing, and people are always going to have a wide range of opinions on TNA. They've gone through a million brand changes and TV deals and management and this and that. But, like, they continue to survive. And we just had another Bound for Glory in the books tonight. So congratulations to TNA for another year doing their thing.
Just got to survive for one more year. The cockroaches march on. I say that with love because some people really don't understand that it is a term of endearment for TNA. Jensen, what you got going on? Let's get out of here.
Yes, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on X at @FightTalk_. If you want to listen to the back catalog of the Weekender podcast, the show has now ended after a 7-year run. So if you guys enjoyed that show and you guys want to relive or maybe know about older matches, people on the indies over the last 7 years, what they've been up to, where they came from and stuff like that, the whole back catalog is available on FightfulSelect.com. You can also check me out every Thursday night, myself and Jeremy Lambert, live on Fightful Overbooked for the Spotlight. We talk WWE, AEW, Indies, everything in between. And we have guests on there often for you as well. So, join us over there on Thursdays. And if you can't check us out live, we appreciate anyone who watches the replays or listens on any of the audio platforms. You might listen to your podcast and that kind of stuff. So, thanks for all, and thank you for the support. Also, anyone who reached out when the Weekender wrapped up, thank you guys very much. I take a lot of pride in that show and doing anything for 7 years. I can't believe how it's a long time to do anything. So, I'm happy to be here doing these reviews with you, Joel, and I appreciate y'all for watching us tonight.
We're going to be back again. I don't know. They won't tell me. They just won't tell us when. A Genesis? Well, I don't know. Are we going to be there for Turning Point? I don't know. The Final Resolution? I don't know. Regardless, the TNA post show is going to be here however it lasts and however it exists. If TNA is on, we'll probably be here. Some combination of people will talk about it. I don't know who, but we'll be here. I'm in the weeds 5 days a week. I'm not there 5 days a week. The show exists 5 days a week. 10 a.m. Eastern over on Fightful Overbooked. That's our sister channel. Go check that out. Myself, Jeremy Lambert, SP3, some combination of us talk about everything. It's not just wrestling, literally everything, because that's just what we do. Tomorrow we'll be on during the last half hour of Monday Night Raw. We'll probably talk about it. We'll probably talk about Bound for Glory. We'll talk about Crown Jewel. We'll talk about what happened on SmackDown. We'll talk about what happened on AEW Collision. We'll talk about what happened in GCW. We'll talk about literally anything we can because it's Monday, and we'll do it on a holiday, for me at least, but I'll still be at work because that's what I do, baby. For Steven Jensen, you know who I am. You know who he is. Leave a thumbs up on the way out. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.